I'm not matching profiles, I'm matching people. How far are you willing to go to become you? I'm asked the same question every morning. The connection has been lost to each other and to ourselves. Toxicity continues to rise while self-worth continues to fall. This was created out of sheer necessity. The desire to create change and curve the culture back to connection. My journey has rerouted my idea of who I'm becoming. Connection begins within, continues outward. Love you, then love me, in that order. If I'm about to get uncomfortable, then so are you. I'm learning who I am. Now I want to get to know you. Connection over convenience.
Oh.
How are you from down under?
I'm good. How you doing?
Exciting.
It is exciting.
Wow, there you are. This is so weird. You can see me and everything?
Uh-huh. I can see you. I can feel you.
Good. I'm right here. Are all the levels cool and like you have all the settings and stuff? I got Luke behind the scenes of like just doing all the adjustments right now. And
hey, yo, Luke.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. Luke Skywalker.
That's him. He's the man behind them.
He's the ninja.
He is a ninja. He really is.
Mm-hmm.
Are you're cool with all the? We're good to go.
Yeah. Everything looks good on my end.
Okay.
It's recording. You're good.
We're both wearing green.
I went with the green. Last minute change.
Yeah.
I'm glad I like it.
Same.
Green was the color tonight. So it's 11 o'clock there, right?
11 a.m. Yeah.
11 a.m.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you coffeeed up or y'all fine? I saw you already did a video this morning. There you go. Okay.
I had a coffee this morning. This is pomegranate and cranberry tea.
I like it.
Yeah.
All right, let me introduce you and then we get going.
Awesome.
Because otherwise, I think we'll probably do a full podcast before we even get to like the podcast. You know what I mean? which it'll go like that anyway. Might as well just introduce us. All right, so Zoe-Anna Bell, I welcome you. Relationship and intimacy coach, author and speaker, helping us heal trauma, ignite our energy, and access our raw feminine and masculine power. She's silly, cerebral, and sexual. She's everything from push-ups and poetry to yoni and lingam love. I welcome you to the podcast, the XXO podcast. Zoe-Anna Bell, welcome aboard.
Thanks so much, Jason. It's a pleasure to be here.
I appreciate you having me. Thank you. Thank you for coming down all the way from Australia.
Mm-hmm.
And we're
bringing it here from down under.
That's right, 16 hours. You are actually in the future right now.
We are in the future.
You are 16 hours ahead of me.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty insane, right? It's pretty wild. I always think that's pretty cool.
What's Australia like right now?
It's a little bit overcast actually. And I love looking at the sky when it's overcast. I seem to channel a lot when it's overcast. So yeah, it's a little bit dark and moody out there. It feels like we've got a storm coming in, which is exciting.
We have a big storm coming our way too. We have a big snowstorm headed our way in the next like, about 12 hours or so, I think. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
You guys get snow over there?
Yeah, we do get snow over here, but we haven't got any snow at the moment. In September, I went to the snow and went walking in my 70s retro swimsuit and a pair of snowshoes and a hat and went walking in -4 for like two hours. And then going in icy water. Yeah. So
I think we share a love for Wim Hof. Is that correct?
Oh, correct. Yeah.
And you've done the ice baths before?
Yeah, I've got an ice bath here at home, and I did the advanced, and so we went away, and I loved it. And you know what? I'm probably very similar as well with you, like from doing so much pranayama and breath work over the years. It just felt like an easy progression, so I did it, and then now I'm guiding other people through it. I love it. It's powerful.
Every morning, cold showers every morning?
Cold showers every morning.
Yeah.
And then in the evening, you know, like if I have to do girly things like shave my legs, it's not the best for like shaving your legs. So I do, you know, I listen to my body. If I want to have a warm shower, I nourish that. But yeah, I love having the cold showers. It's amazing what it does to your body.
Yeah.
Freely.
Yeah, every morning. I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning And I love that cold shower. I mean, it's just, there's nothing quite like it. You know, it's every time you step into it, as soon as it hits you, you are up. Yeah.
I love it. How long do you stay in the shower for?
I probably stay in the shower for 15 to 20 minutes. So it's a good.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep.
That's awesome. No, I don't stay in that long. I'm pretty in there, do my business, and then I'm out again.
Get out of it. Yeah.
It's like go. But yeah, the breath work is something I do every day. Like, well, every day I go and practice on my mat. I'll get there early and I do at least like 20, 25 minutes of the breath work before I start my yoga practice. And I felt it's just completely transformed the way that I practice now. Whereas before it was very like, boom, having to, you know, so now it's just like more easeful and effortless of just that enjoying the sensation within each and every, so it feels like this beautiful way of just going deeper into each and every moment to be really, really present, which I love.
Is that something over the years that you've been able to get closer to being present? Like, has there been an evolution in the life where you're able to actually get to that at this point in your life?
Yeah, it started off in 2011 with learning the Vedic meditation and, learning how to, my teacher always used to say to me, you know, I'd go, why am I doing that? He'd be like, sit down, shut the fuck up, do the work. And it was the greatest advice to really get that aspect of the mind, that always to sit down and do the work. And that was the most biggest shift for me, I'd say, was 2011 of actually, because you don't know until you've experienced it from what your current state of awareness is. And I would suddenly realize that with these pockets of stillness or pockets of where I just got to rest and switch off. Because I've always been go, go, go. But, you know, for many years I was go, go, go like a rocket, but going round in circles and not breaking free of the cycle and not understanding how to manage my energy. So like a kid, it was like
energy coming from you.
Right. It's like a kid. And I feel like I'm back to being 3 years old. You know, it's full force or I rest, full force or I rest, full force or I rest. There's no in between. But I've learned how I'm still learning, because we're always still learning, but how to master that more and more to then be very direct and clear in where that energy goes.
Have you heard of Dandapani? He's a monk. No. So he's a monk who has this great philosophy. He talks about there's a finite amount of energy, and we all have throughout the day. And we're given, and essentially, if you take your cup and you raise it, and that's how much energy you have each day. So you have to decide who's deserving or who you're going to give that energy to. Because when you surround yourself around toxic people, they can easily suck down the majority of that cup, and that's all you're left with for the day for you. So you have to decide who's deserving, and that's where boundaries come in. That's something I've really enjoyed from learning from him. But also going back to the cold water and the meditation, that actually calmed the energy down to focus on just what I need to do every day and who's deserving of it.
Yeah. You know, on the whole concept of that with the cup, I have this, my take on that is that I will attend to my cup so it's overflowing. And unless another soul also has a cup that's overflowing, they can share from my cup. If their cup is not overflowing, they will get what's in my saucer. And the reason I say this, because if they were to drink what was in the cup and overflowing from the cup, they're not ready to drink it. They're not ready to drink that nectar, and they can have what's in the saucer, because then it gets to cool down and it gets to be, they're able to digest it until they are ready to attend to their own cup.
I love that. I love that.
Because then you're not feeling depleted. You're not feeling depleted, but you're also in empowering others that they need to attend to their cup.
Yeah. I love that.
And then if my cup is empty, I take myself off. It's like take myself off to be by myself, which I love, and do whatever it needs to take to get to that state so my cup is overflowing again.
Do you need time to recharge at times, or you need to be by yourself to recharge and reset?
Yes, I'm very, like, people see me and they think I'm very, like, I don't like labels, but the whole extroverted, introverted, and I recharge by being by myself. I love being by myself. I love that whole company. And then I love going out into the world, and it may be as simple as just walking down the street and bumping and seeing people in the restaurants that I know, and I'm like, I connect with them, and it's like boom, boom, and we're like, hi, how you doing? Or the optometrist, and I'll stick my head in the door, and like, so we're constantly doing this, and so I'm going from A to B and then connecting with people, and then I like to then come back and be in my own space. It's sacred. It's sacred.
You're not afraid of silence, are you?
No, I love silence.
So I look at either silence, people love it or hate it, and some people, they're okay with it. Others, they're afraid of it, and so they need the noise. They need the distraction. Mm-hmm. They get the energy from the loudness, and others, it's just the opposite of that. The silence is great.
It's that beautiful.
Yeah,
it is. It's the beautiful, and within the silence, it's feeling into. It's like within the scene, it's feeling into the spaces in between, what you actually feel that you're seeing, and feeling into the silence. And that's what I found the first time I actually went into the ice was only this year. First time I was so pumped. I was so excited to get in there. And I was like, I want to get this videoed, like my first time. So I got it videoed. And yeah, I went into there, and the way that I would describe it, I felt the most peaceful, the most still. It felt like silence. And there were bongos playing in the background and all of that. And I felt so peaceful. I didn't actually want to come out. And I find that when I breath hold now, sometimes I'm like holding my breath. And my friend jokes, and he says, if anyone finds you dead at home, we'll just write on there, my friend used to love holding her breath. Because sometimes when you're in there, you don't want to come out of it, and it's playing with that edge and being wise in your discernment with it. Because in that place, it's, and I know we can't express this through words, but it's that experience where you're actually really understanding what the concept of oneness is, and it feels like it was the experience of feeling what I can understand from my human mind of like consciousness just moving inside this vessel and observing the whole whatever experience it was, and feeling really peaceful there. And it's like that feeling when you have an out-of-body experience. It's like that, it feels really good here. Do I want to go back? Because it feels so good.
Well, silence.
Does that make sense?
It does. It does. When you hear silence means we need to spend time with ourselves. And that's just it. Is a lot of us are afraid to spend time with ourselves.
Have you ever looked at the whole word alone? What it actually, when you break up the word, what it actually means?
No.
So that, we have to learn how to have silence and go into ourselves to get past that noise, but be okay in our own essence. But when you look at the path of aloneness or oneness, and it's beautiful how we have all these practices out there to assist us with remembering, with starting at a very visceral level, at a very real, very tangible level of the physical, be it pain, be it touch, be it sensation of excessive extreme like ice or cold, to then like bring you back to your breath. And then with that breath, you start feeling grounded, and people can then start going. The breath I feel is like having the light to then go into those aspects of the darkness.
Yeah. Yeah. People ignore the breath. And we think how significant the breath is, and we ignore it.
Yeah, and then if you say it to people, you know, people have heard it so much. I'd said it to a friend, she's a teenager, and she went, I want to do a meme if someone tells me, just breathe properly.
Yeah.
And she's like...
Yeah, what does that mean?
Yeah, what does it mean? And I guess the more and more that we go out into the world and we're actually being that rather than talking about it, then it gives people permission. They start to then being able to explore that, because it's not just coming from words of it. They're actually getting an experience of it, to be led, to be guided, to actually understand. Because most people out there we need to retrain ourselves how to breathe.
Nobody teaches us. Nobody teaches us a lot of things.
But they didn't even need to teach us to begin with, because we naturally did it. You know, we looked at babies, and babies are like, and I feel that's what we're getting back to with the whole sensuality, with the whole intimacy. It's like, you know, if we were like now we're really playful because of the space that we're in, but like, it's like being 3 years old or 2 years old again. There's no like, oh, should I go and connect? Should I go and chat to this? It's like, hey, here I am. Let's play.
Completely inhibited.
Yeah. And I feel that's what we're getting back to. We're remembering our forgetfulness to reclaim our innocence. And, you know, our breathing, we naturally knew how to breathe as babies.
It's funny how much you learn from going back in time, like way back in time. It's like we have it figured out, and then we're broken down, and then we need to figure out how to put it back together in some other way again. It's almost like a Rubik's Cube, right?
Oh.
You there? Did I lose you?
No, it's all right. I'm still here.
Okay. Yeah, it's almost like a Rubik's Cube where you kind of keep twisting and until you can get it right again.
I love it.
Yeah.
And sometimes the best thing to do is just to get the Rubik's Cube and rip it apart.
And put it back, right? Yeah.
And then start playing the game. Yeah, sometimes you just need to rip it all apart.
That's right. Throw it all out there.
Put it back together.
Be completely exposed. All of the darkness. Just rip it apart.
All of it.
Start from beginning. Put it together how you want to be put together, right?
Exactly. Any unique design you want. It doesn't need to be the way that it was.
No, it's your way. It's how you want it.
Mess it up. Mess it up a little bit.
That's right. Messy's good.
Messy's very good.
I like it. We both got green cups again today here too. Also, green cups, green shirt. Yeah, here. Cheers.
I love it. Cheers.
So where did this path start with you? I should say in the transformation field of becoming a relationship and intimacy coach. How far back does this go with you?
You know, if I think back to when I was 4, 5, 6, like I was curious. I was curious about things to do with, I guess, relationship between our differences and between boys and girls. And I was very explorative when it came to like dressing up. And as like from a young age, I think it was like 4 or 5, I would go, when I was at friends' houses, I would raid their mum's underwear drawer. And I'd get dressed up in lingerie. And it's quite interesting. You know, I look at that now and it's like I already had this insatiable curiosity of...
Lost you. It froze.
I guess my whole journey has been about... Have you got me?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah. I guess I've experienced through life how not to be and how not to have a relationship and how not to be treated So I guess I've learned in School of Hard Knocks or School of Adversity to really understand about human behavior.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
We're getting a little juicy, the deep, and then I don't think the network connection could handle the conversation.
The heat just up.
Yeah, they shut us right down. We're getting serious here. They were shutting us down. They're like, you ain't giving up that information. I don't even know. You probably were talking for about 10 minutes. I completely lost you.
It's all good. Wherever you want to go from.
Okay. So I wish I caught all that too. It's unfortunate, but has there been history of toxic relationships in your life? Personal ones with you in personal relationships.
Yes, from myself playing out different games, games of manipulation, games of many victim games that I guess from my learned behavior, from what I learned is a game of protection, survival. And also being on the receiving end, experiencing codependent relationships of that whole, attracting the most ideal partners, attracting the most divine lovers, partners at the time, because we were all learning and growing. And even if I rewind back, I look at it and I found I had to learn some, I reframe that. I feel I chose to come back and experience a lot of adversity and to really get clear of learning about what my no was and my ability to say no. I was a really slow learner, I think, like a lot of humans, because that core belief deep down was I want to feel loved. I don't feel good enough. I want to feel accepted. And, it goes that whole, what we create so young when we're 6 by choices that our parents make, and we create a whole perception around, we see the world around that. So yeah, it started from a very young age, and I guess I was a performer. So I wanted to performer as in, if you're aware of the Enneagram, like I'm a 3, so I'm very much like, and even, from a young age, I used to like to uplift people and perform to make people feel better. But what I was doing from that, I was doing it because I was scared inside, and I feared rejection. Like many of us, my greatest fear was rejection and abandonment. So then throughout the years, then I attracted partners to reflect those exact things back. And like if someone walked away from me, it was like a red flag it was like a red flag to a bull. And I'm grateful that I was a fighter, meaning that I learned how, and I came off worse mostly all the time because my size, but I learned to pick myself up, and and I could start to see how I was being the cause of things, of how I was actually attracting, because of the unconscious resonance that I was actually giving off. So I'm really grateful for everything that I've experienced, from physical trauma to emotional to psychological to sexual trauma. And the greatest thing I found, and what I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now, I wouldn't fully understand the whole shadow aspects. I wouldn't have gone onto that journey of learning to have the most juicy and delicious love affair with myself, right?
Yeah.
And I'm really grateful, because I wouldn't have actually really got to know myself on such a deep and intimate level had I not experienced all that I experienced. And I think everyone's here for different things, but I felt that was there to activate me to go into the adversities, to go into the trauma, to go into those aspects, to then reveal my gifts and then what I have to share with others, to have a deep understanding from not only the side of the one that's on the receiving end, but how they're also playing a game. And we need to stop pointing the finger and realize that we play in all aspects at some point in our life, and we will flip between all different positions.
And here we are
so
today.
Yes,
yeah,
here we are.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Welcome to the new you.
Yeah.
You know, I'm big on connection over convenience, and how far you're willing to go to become you. And it's amazing the journey of, and I've the relationships I've been in, and over the same thing with me with the codependency and everything that you mentioned. And it's just keeps cutting in deeper until you can figure out, you know, what is your worth. But it's I'm thankful for it all to get to this point. But it'll just keep happening over and over. It'll replay over and over until you feel it, you heal it. Yeah.
It's been really interesting. This year I went through 9 months. I think it's like 8 months now. I know I can speak openly. There's been one incident, it's a beautiful exploration that I have, but in that 9 months, you know, I chose abstinence for myself and it was just about really reclaiming myself and reclaiming my sovereignty and, being really, really clear until I met on that same level and on that same frequency and same resonance. And yeah, it's like when you're tuning into a high vibration within yourself and it feels sensual 24/7 and you feel like you're tapping into something quite pure and magical, then you don't want to deplete that, or you don't want to share it with another soul that is coming from a different intention.
Yeah, and once you're able to get this point, I think you have a really good indicator if, you know, is whose intentions are where at this point. I mean, the further, you know, the more distance you have from it all, and the closer you get to know yourself. I think the distance to connection decreases as the distance to toxicity increases, if that makes any sense. And within there, you really have, I mean, you can really sense, I can walk into a room and sense energy now. It's really, I never had that before, and now I can just feel it right away from everybody. It's that intuition that you understand from where you were and where you are now.
Yep. Yeah. And that's powerful because we need to learn how to play that game of, you know, we go through this phase where we then avoid those situations, and then, you know, it's like being able to fill up and be at that resonance, and then being willing to go in. And I'm not saying going to situations that are lower vibration or they're toxic vibration, but being able to go in there and infuse the energy in there and then go away just to impact. And I feel when we can each be doing that, to also see those people in the room with deep love and unconditional love and forgiveness, because it's their level of awareness of where they're at, and they're playing the games of what we've also played out. And I feel that's the biggest shift that we can have in humanity. Is that's the biggest hurdle I feel, is to
awaken the others,
see them right. They're an aspect of who we are.
So you have a pretty good idea of your purpose in this stage of life, don't you?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. It feels like it's great. It's that feeling that it's greater than any selfish desire that I have. It's this force that is driving me, and it's relentless. And I feel that we've been cracking through the edges, crack, crack, crack. And I feel this year certain, more and more of us are aligning to chip away, and we're about to be hit in a massive way where all of us, those that have been doing all this inner work for so long behind closed doors on our own and feeling very much alone, and we're all connecting now. It's like connecting, like poof, poof, poof. Even this conversation is creating an activation out there in the world. Other people that will tune in will suddenly feel activated, or something will shift in them. And as I feel this sort of space is so powerful, so many more people are going to be reaching out. And I really feel for them, because you know how painful it is going through this, and the whole ascension process is painful. People have to understand, unless they're willing to go into that and be guided into that, then we can never truly be free.
No, we're in a time where there's definitely been a cultural shift in relationships, and we've lost a connection. Yeah. We've definitely lost connection to ourselves and to each other. Mm-hmm. And I love people like you that are helping to bring us back closer to find out who we are. Mm-hmm. In which case we can love ourselves, and we can work outwards and love each other. Mm-hmm. And our relationships will be that much healthier. I don't know if they how big online dating is out where you are. I'm sure it's plenty big out there, but it's a $3 billion a year industry. Just think about $3 billion a year. Isn't that amazing?
It's huge.
So we're stuck.
It's quite. Go on.
No, we're stuck inside this culture of it's just not natural. It's very surface and superficial and artificial. And mm-hmm. so I call it artificial happiness. It's like temporary happiness. Mm-hmm. They're looking for outside, mm-hmm. looking for the validation, but there's no intention of actually having that real connection or relationship. And the ones who do are kind of stuck in that system, because they just keep meeting the same people and over that are in this world called online dating. So I love mm-hmm. bringing it offline and us actually meeting each mm-hmm. other and having a real connection and learning how to get to know mm-hmm. each other on a personal level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've never done online dating, like never. I think I put a profile up for 5 hours, and I was just like, shut it down. I'm the believer of teaching people how to ignite what they're working from the inside out, so they can start to activate what is asleep, so they can start to, so they get really clear on what they're drawing into their resonance. And we're moving more to a time of resonance where not only like ourselves.
Connection lost.
Hang on. I just need to flip myself.
There you are. You're flipped.
Okay.
There you go. Nice.
So I think I was saying about, when you look at the whole online dating is, I like to guide people how to ignite what they want to attract into their life, so they become a magnet of being able to command what they desire to come to them. So it's raining men, it's raining women, and it does actually happen. And then, yes, exactly, having real connections. It's really interesting that the work that I'm doing is online. It's online, but then what I've been experimenting with, which is a new thing this year, is actually dropping in and having intimacy sessions with people that I've worked with. It's not sexual, it's sensual. So they get to experience, I channel my energy and start activating them from Sydney. They're in the US. And it's the most, I can't even explain it. And it's very healing, and it's very beautiful and very transformational. And so I've been experimenting with that and I feel I connect. It's funny. I've had connections or romantic connections when people are over the other side of like in the US, right? And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, what is the universe showing me right now? And I feel what we're shifting through is about, we're tapping more into transparency, we're coming more into 5D consciousness, and I feel it's coming more into resonance. So you can feel into, you may not have the physical in that moment, but you can connect on a energetic level.
Yeah.
So I've been experimenting and playing with that, and it's been really beautiful to actually do this with these souls, and they've talked really openly about it. And it's not, they're like, it's not sexual, but it's the sensual feeling. And I feel that's what people are learning how to connect more with, is the cosmic energy that is there 24/7. And when we can connect with that, then people don't feel this connection that have to do online dating. You look at the online dating industry, how big it is, how insidious it is. And then you look at the other huge industry, and you have the porn industry, and you have two industries that have been perfectly orchestrated there, which to create shame, blame, guilt, and keep things in a disconnection from true intimate connection.
That's it. That's where connection over convenience, that came from when I was online dating, and I would meet people who were, they could be a little further than, 5 minutes away, or, a couple hours away. And if there's some type of connection, I'd always, I was open to the connection over the convenience. I wasn't there for the convenience of just to date somebody. I wanted to actually meet somebody, like a real connection. And so that's kind of where that line came from. Connection over convenience was, they can be anywhere, but if it feels that good, and it's that strong, and it's that intimate, on a much deeper level, then I'm all about the connection over the convenience. And I found that I became addicted to it in terms of online dating, and not so much because I was addicted to having to like keep meeting people and wanting to just meet another person. I was addicted to the idea of I needed to be in a relationship. So that was a tough thing for me, to realize I'm chasing the idea of, I want to be in a relationship so bad that I was addicted to the idea of online dating to enable just to meet somebody to be in a relationship, which was probably different than a lot of other people. But that I recognized at the time that that's what was going on with me. And
Wow.
And then I finally got to the point where I deleted all the apps. I said, this is what I'm going to do, is I'm getting offline, and I need to get to know myself and be in a relationship with myself first, and not have to be in a relationship with anybody. And that's when kind of everything changed for me. But that's what I was doing, is I was chasing the idea of a relationship, which I did. I really wanted to be in one. But sometimes, in a frequency where you want to be in one so bad, you're not attracting the right people. It just doesn't work that way,
Mm-hmm. It's all, I think it's divine timing as well. It's like with, if you have a feeling of when people are ready for that relationship, if they have a feeling or they feel that excitement brewing up inside them, like the anticipation of that not knowing, but they feel that, then there's another soul that's also feeling that feeling. So what people are tuning into is something that they can't quite see yet, but they're actually calling in, because that other person is vibrating on that same level. And I feel when we're able to trust that more and have faith in it and be patient with it, then you're not chasing that, just something to fill the void, to fill the emptiness.
Yeah.
And
is the idea of it. You're right, it's the void.
Yeah. I will honestly say, like, I find I don't know, I get activated into, like, if with words or like things that people say, or it could be like with me, it could be poetry. So, and I like to just scrawl like erotic poetry. It just like comes out of me, like it's just like, and then I see someone else do that, and I'm like, so every cell of my body is just like, oh my God, and it can go from here to here. And it hasn't even gone into the whole physical. I'm like, okay, what is that? Like, I'm understanding it, and it's exciting. It's like my cells are like telling me something.
Yeah, it's yep. It's a reflection of yourself. It's awakening you.
Yeah. It's like when you share from that place, and then you hear that, and then it's just like activate. So I feel like the more and more we do that, like we're just like and it's like, and that's what I understand about like when we move through this whole experience that my battery, hang on a minute, can I go and plug in my battery?
Of course, this is real life.
I just need to plug in my phone. Hang on. Okay.
We are good. We are live on the XXO podcast. We are vibrating at the same frequency. The energy among us is fucking insane. We've lost cameras, we've lost power, we've lost batteries. We've experienced it all the technical difficulties. And through it all, only 16 hours separates us from Connecticut of the USA up to down under in Australia. Welcome back. How was that for a non-broadcaster? Was that good?
I love it.
Did I bias time?
Yeah.
All right.
You completely bent time.
We're back. So how do we bring this back in again?
Oh God, where were we at? Or they were like talking resonance and I feel we've been given a taste. I feel we've been given a taste of what's going to be possible, of being able to communicate on a higher level, on a higher frequency, and I'm sort of looking at my different things that have been coming up, or different things that have sort of been shown, and it's like, I don't know. It feels like, because we can connect on all these levels.
We can, but I think what's happening is that we are so afraid of ourselves today. And I know your relationship and intimacy coach, and that's just it, is because so many have lost. See, for me, connection is like the root of vulnerability and intimacy. Like if you think of it as an equation, for me, intimacy plus vulnerability equals connection. Like connection is all of it. And we are so afraid to show our true selves today, which is interesting, because you and I have met in LinkedIn land, right? And and it's interesting of being yourself, and it's actually welcomed now, and it's welcomed other places too, but it's like a big community of people who support being yourself, and they welcome it. And we think of LinkedIn as before as very business-like, and that's going to become irrelevant if you're not able to show your vulnerability and actually be yourself now, which is great. I love that. But on a large scale, on a large level here, that is where we are in relationships, is we can't allow somebody else to see who we truly are. And that's so sad, because that's the beautiful, individuality is the most beautiful thing in the world. And yet we want to be everybody else.
I feel it's not the people that are unable to connect, it's their nervous systems that cannot connect. Because their state of arousal that they're in, meaning stress arousal. So, the whole fight or flight.
Yeah.
For many of us, we've experienced prolonged states of freeze. And when you look at the levels of being able to connect in a connection, people cannot have a connection when they're in a state of freeze, because they're in a place of disassociation and numbness. But the numbness is their constant state of being. So like they're at the other end of the scale. So that's why people are so hooked into and addicted to these things that give some form of connection, like right? So then it keeps them stuck in this
Loop.
hamster wheel.
Yeah, it's a loop.
Yeah, this loop. Yeah, it's a loop, which is their nervous system. And their nervous system are, I look at sensuality, like sensuality is our senses. When we were babies, we were most sensual. We touch, we taste, we explored with our mouth. Shamelessly, we explored different things. And we didn't have to do anything. We were just in our divine essence. And we were enough. So that is what we're getting back to. But we have so much things to distract us, to derail us, to keep us off, to keep us bound in this disconnection and from living so much of a life in freeze. I'm still thawing out. Each and every day I get to discharge and delayer another layer. And it feels beautiful. And if I'm going through that and I'm feeling so connected and so vibed and juiced about life, I just thinking how the majority of people out there and where they're at, and they don't know because they haven't experienced it and they haven't had a taste of new possibility of a different type of reality that they can create, because they're stuck in this, because their nervous system is reacting in a certain way.
You focus on the attraction as opposed to the distraction, and that's when life really gets good.
Yeah.
But it's how do you exit that continuous loop that we're stuck in? You have to unwire and rewire yourself, and that's not easy.
100%.
Making that incision
100%.
and really getting to know yourself and figuring it out. It's so much easier just to keep moving on than have to stop and get to know yourself at that level.
Well, that's why life is beautiful. That's why life has divine things called contrast in it. That's why we have suffering. That's why we have pain. That's why we have illness. And if people tuning in, if you start looking at your life, you will notice there will be a pattern. And if you keep looking at that pattern, you will start mapping out what areas, what times of year you have that exact pattern. And if you keep going back into your life, you will see it will start from one point in time that will be how you've then unconsciously just kept recreating and recreating and recreating and recreating until you learn that you need to start finding something that resonates. It could be meditation, it could be breath work, it could be, I always feel with people, when someone shows up in your life and you're in the point of asking, it's like, when the teacher appears, if you're in the point of asking, you may be down on your knees, just be like, frustration. It's a good place to get to because you're screaming out and you're like, you're screaming out. Like, and I've had it multiple times where I don't pray, but I've prayed. I've been on my knees and I've screamed up to the universe, like, is this effing it? And then all of a sudden it starts shifts. And the more and more we're willing to be vulnerable and allow our emotions to be seen, and maybe that's in tears, maybe that's in overwhelm of reaching out to someone and going, I can't continue in this way. That is a beautiful place to begin from, because then there's a high willingness to learn, there's a high willingness to knowing that the only thing you can go from there is to keep stepping up, and that is a beautiful point to be at. And I think people that haven't experienced much suffering, they haven't experienced much adversity, it's harder for them because there's not the intensity, there's not the, life has become too comfortable for them. So they're comfortable in their safety net. It's like, well, why do I need to change that? I don't want to disrupt that. My life could feel, I like it the way it is.
To me, that's just existing. You can either live or you can simply exist, and that's just existing.
Yep.
To me, there's
The
nothing.
Walking Dead.
It's easy. There's nothing. There's no substance to it. It's just day to day I exist. But to me, if you're not getting uncomfortable and challenging yourself, you're not growing at all. You're stuck. You're literally putting yourself in a position to just be stuck.
And flatlining.
It doesn't sound fun to me, but
I guess people when they're in that state of reality, until they have something that happens that shifts that state of reality or knocks them out of it, could be like a trauma response. It could be for example, experimenting with mushrooms or medicinal mushrooms or something that changes their reality just for that moment. They then start to see there's different levels of awareness, but they don't know that when they're in it.
sure. You talked about something about recreating relationships, and that's something that I actually got stuck in. Mapping out what was happening in the past. I was actually recreating relationships over with the same, a different partner, which is so unfair for a partner. But I had an idea of the relationship I wanted, and so it's so unfair. But I would keep recreating this idea of the relationship with somebody else. And that's the beauty of relationships, is they're so different and individual with the person, and yet it was very, I guess, selfish in a way of me having this idea of what I wanted. Deja vu. How are you? Where you been all my life?
It just got too hot in there.
Oh man, they shut us down again.
Damn it!
It was in a way it's selfish that I had an idea of what I wanted for a relationship, and so with each partner I would try to recreate that same relationship. But I think that's where we were.
Yeah.
And it took me a while to figure out what was happening, and
I think that's the beautiful thing about relationships. Like, every relationship teaches us.
yeah, and they will keep doing it. They keep doing it until you figure it out.
Yeah. I have this thing that, like, if you look at the word relationship, it's like you're learning how to relate with your own ship. And that be mindful who you invite on your ship, because before you know it, you have a mutiny. It's like mutiny on the Bounty, and like someone's trying to take over your ship or telling you how you should run your ship, how you should manage your ship, what you should do on your ship. And it's always like, give yourself permission to kick them overboard and chuck them in a dinghy so they can whinge and whine and bitch out there just a little bit, so you can't quite hear them, but you can just, they're safe, but they can learn how to manage that dinghy, and then throw them bits of wood, and then they can learn how to build their own ship. But yeah, never have someone on your ship that's going to disrespect. It's almost like inviting someone to a dinner party, and I see this in relationships, and when people are sharing what their fantasies are and what they love, and I always say to people, like, if you're inviting someone to your dinner party, or if you're invited, like if you invite me to your house for a dinner party, I would usually come with a gift, and I would put that on the table, right?
Yeah.
And I would come along as a guest, and then if you opened up your table and you put different things on your table, there may be things on the table, food that I don't like. But being with etiquette and living with discretion and discernment, there would be certain things that I may not like. So I would kindly and very warmly decline them without having a tantrum or without making a noise about it or going, I don't like that, why do you like that? And I always say that to people, it's like fantasies. If you invite someone to sit at your table, the person that's sharing their table with you, they are showing you their most intimate aspects of their mind, and there is nothing that is right or wrong on there, because it's all in the mind. And if you don't like it, you can leave and you can excuse yourself quietly. But we should stop pointing the finger and telling or vomiting on someone else's table, and love and respect them through it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, cheers to that.
Or you ask them to leave. You say, you've overstayed your welcome. You're not behaving at the dinner table.
It's time for you to go.
It's time for you to go.
I like that. What a great analogy. 2 of them, the dinner table and the boat.
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah. Thank you. You can have the dinner table on the boat.
There you go. You can have it all. You kick them out of the dinner table, the dining room, and the boat. It's like a 3-step process to rid yourself of toxicity.
It is.
It's boundaries.
Yeah.
I mean, it's boundaries. That's what it is.
It's boundaries. Chuck people in the ocean of life. And, when we can all stop. Are you there?
Oh, I'm here. Did you lose me?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
If we can, chuck people in the ocean of life and we can stop rescuing one another and we can stop jumping in and drowning with one another and stand on the side and actually throw people a rope, then they have a choice. They can learn how to swim or they can choke on their stuff for a little while.
Yeah.
Until they're ready to pull themselves up.
Yeah. We might be going to that. 2020, coming at you, 2020.
I love it.
We'll start a TV show. A reality TV show.
Yeah, check them in. Yeah, on a boat.
On a
we
boat.
could have like a dinner party on the boat.
That's right.
Yeah, I think
it's called literally the Titanic.
We can host it. I'm open to travel, so.
Let's do it.
I can actually see it. You know what the craziest thing is? I can actually see it. You could actually have something really cool, and people have to apply to be on that boat. You could have so many different dynamics playing out.
Overboard. We'll call it Overboard.
Overboard.
There you go.
I don't know if we'd have a red room at night. I'm just joking.
We'll work on the details. We got time. Before this airs, we need to figure out the details.
Yeah, exactly.
Somebody be stealing our shit, right?
Yeah. Don't edit that bit out.
We'll cut this part out.
Cut that bit out.
Because we're onto something big here. We just need a boat, a boat and an ocean. That's all we need.
And I'm done with free feeding people.
There you go. To each their own.
Yeah.
They can find themselves.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, I know we've had a lot of technical complications tonight.
It's all good.
But I really appreciate you joining us on the XXO podcast, and I'm hoping that you will do a live in-person XXO podcast come April time, if you understand what I mean.
Yes.
Be in-house, and we can actually, I don't have to look at you on a monitor screen, but I can actually have you in-house and have a much deeper conversation with you.
Sounds awesome.
Perfect. I appreciate it so much. Thank you for joining us. And anything you want to plug tonight? How can everybody find you?
They can find me. Do you put the LinkedIn links here? Or do you...
I will put everything you want. I will put it all out there.
I can add my links. I can send them through to you. You can check out my website, Zoe-Anna.com, and connect with me via LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever your platform is. And yeah, look forward to chatting.
I'll put all the links online so they can get to you.
Pimp my links.
I will do that. Thank you so much. I'm keeping you on the boat.
Thanks so much, Jason.
Have a good night.
Being on the boat. Okay.
Enjoy your day. I know it's daytime there, but thank you so much.
Thanks, brother.
Take care.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.